Welcome to the details now. This afternoon, we keep our focus on the disturbing situation in the Ashanti regional capital, where members of the pro-NPP vigilante group calling itself the Delta Force stormed a circuit court. They threatened the judge and freed 13 of their members. Reactions have been coming in thick and fast, with the National Peace Council demanding an immediate crackdown. Well, this afternoon, the 13 members of the group who are being tried for attempting to violently remove President Akufo-Addo's security coordinator for the Ashanti region are heading to prison as remand warrants are issued to police prosecutors. We'll be live in Kumasi shortly for more on this. But now, though, let's pay some attention to the magistrates and judges who have been holding a news conference in Accra. My colleague Joseph Akable will be joining me very soon in the studio. He'll tell us what's been happening at that particular meeting. Well, before Joseph Akable joins me in the studio, Victor Ofwe, who is the president of the Association of Magistrates and Judges. Here's what he has to say.
A sad day in the development of our constitutional democracy, a democracy that underlines nothing but the rule of law. That a group of persons can enter a courtroom and forcibly free persons who were subject of criminal prosecution is clearly unacceptable, and we condemn such act unreservedly. We view this with concern. We have no doubt in our minds that the Ghanaian society will be with us in describing such an act as primitive, uncivilized, uncouth, primordial, and above all, criminal. We call on the authorities as a matter of urgency, particularly the police, to arrest and bring to normalcy the situation of peace, loving Ghanaians to go about their lawful duties. Such acts are a threat and intimidation of the members of the judiciary. It should be most gratifying for us, and of course all Ghanaians, that all involved will be apprehended and dealt with according to law. To our members, particularly in Kumasi, where the incident occurred, we call upon you to stay calm whilst an immediate solution is found to the impasse. We assure you that we are in discussions with the headship of the Judicial Service towards providing maximum security to all the courts. As earlier directed, all members who have reason to feel threatened should, through the headship of the regional administration of the service, report to the regional police commander for appropriate steps to be taken.
Well, I've got Joseph Akable, who covered that particular press conference, is here to tell us what more they've been asking for. Joseph, we understand that they had issues with how the police handle the situation. What else did they say?
So what they are asking for is that going forward, when the police are doing their assessment of risk and deployment, they are saying that they don't want the police to get that risk assessment wrong, such that they will not provide ample security required for such a place. So that is the call they are making to the police.
Okay, well, we can hear them on that as well.
We call on the government, particularly the police hierarchy, as a matter of urgency, to take all necessary steps to allay the worries, fears, and anxiety of all judges and magistrates in the region. We would, with all deference, strongly advise the police in future not to fail in their threat assessment of cases that come before the courts. Every court should be considered a flashpoint, a point that is worth the constant eye of the security agencies, since criminal trials have the potential of emitting violence. We appreciate the concern shown by the media. This incident should not, and we are not going to allow it to be the usual talking shop for our radio stations and TV stations without any firm action to give security to judges and magistrates all over the region. They will feel safe because normally a judge goes to sit in the courtroom alone without any security. And therefore, if you can have people who can mass up within seconds, definitely any normal human being will feel threatened. And so that is so. We definitely feel threatened.
Well, let's look at a statement that they have just issued before we go over to Kumasi, where Erastus Asare-Donkor is standing by to give us an update on the situation. Let's do a very quick one before, just so you know, there is also another press statement from the NDC, but let's go on with the Judicial Council.
Yeah, so similar concerns they are raising, like that of the Association of Magistrates and Judges. In fact, at this particular press conference, they were also present. They go ahead to describe the act in clear terms, they condemn it, and again make similar calls for maximum security at all times for the judge concerned, and indeed all judges and courts across the country. They again demand that the incident should be investigated with dispatch and perpetrators dealt with decisively in accordance with law. They go on to make the point that the nation's attempt at democratic governance and enforcement of the rule of law will flounder and fail if such actions are allowed to fester. Meanwhile, the Judicial Council appeals to all judges and staff to remain calm and continue to go about their work without fear. And this point is very crucial because, I mean, prior to that press conference taking place today,
some of the judges have been panicked.
Exactly, and we've also had calls of possibility of they boycotting cases across the country in solidarity with that incident when the judge involved in that matter. But it appears they are calling on their members to remain calm. Okay,
well, hold on for me, Akable. I'll be doing this with you. But let's go over to Kumasi. Erastus Asare-Donkor has been following this story. He has an update. Hello, Erastus.
Yeah, 50.
We've heard that the judges are calling for increased security at the court. At this particular court where the incident happened yesterday, what has been the mood there?
Well, that particular court has been virtually empty since morning. It's the KMA court. It's located on the Ridge Police Station KMA Road, just by the roadside. Very small in nature as it is. Does not have any security features. Until recently, it was even caving in. So you can imagine that the structure itself lacks the needed security features. It was virtually empty this morning. The judge came in a bit late. 10:25, she showed up, and she adjourned many of the cases. Within about a space of about 45 minutes, 1 hour, she was done with the cases, and she has closed the court for the day and was leaving. I tried to speak with her, but as usual, she told me she doesn't want to comment on the matter.
Now, let's look at these 13 people that the police is telling us have turned themselves in. Are you able to confirm that these people actually turned themselves in? Has the police opened themselves up for such identification of these people?
Yes, indeed. Yesterday in the evening, I understand 11 of them turned themselves into the Asokwa District Police. As of this morning, we had one coming in, and then about 12 noon, we had another coming in. We were left with just one of the people to come in. Currently, as I speak with you, they are still at the regional crime office. The remand warrant papers have been done. I was there when the judge signed them, and they made the process, but then they are yet to be forwarded, and all the men placed in prison custody.
You did mention earlier, of course, on our radio bulletin that the judge has signed a warrant for them to be taken into police custody. Do you get the sense that that is something that's going to happen before the day ends?
That is what we are contemplating, because as at the time when the judge signed the papers and the processes were followed through, I was there when the investigator left with the warrant, remand warrant papers. And so one was thinking that immediately they will be dispatched to the prison premises. But then, as at the time I was leaving, even as of now, as I speak, I've been able to confirm that they are still at the regional police headquarters. So it's not clear whether they will be sent today or they will be sent tomorrow or what the arrangement really is.
Interesting. We understand that yesterday 8 of the people who actually tried to help them escape were arrested themselves. Is there any update on these 8 people?
Yes, they are still in police custody. Police say they are assisting in investigations. That is what they are saying. But this afternoon, I also met the regional chairman of the NPP, Chairman Wuntumi. What I gathered from his visit to the place was that indeed he was seeking bail for them. And so he was asking that the necessary arrangements be made so that these 8 people could be granted bail whilst they continue with investigations. That is what we had. But as we are speaking, they are still in the custody of the Central Police Headquarters.
I see. Erastus, when President Akufo-Addo came over to the region last weekend, he mentioned, he touched on this issue when he met with Otumfuo. What has been the general mood in Kumasi, and what's the sense, what do you get leadership or other people of the community say about this situation?
In fact, this being the stronghold of the NPP, the condemnation is coming from all quarters, from the general public, from various institutions, from the bar, from the clergy, from the Peace Council, even people you meet on the street, ordinary people who would have defended the NPP in everything are even condemning it. So they are talking about the fact that when he went to Menchia, he told Otumfuo that he will ensure that nothing of that sort, what happened at the RCC, will not take place again. He emphasized that when we met the press in the evening, he said crime has no color. The police should ensure that everything is done to enforce the laws as it is. And so people are speaking to that and asking questions as to where lie the enforcement of what he actually seeks to say in front of Otumfuo and in front of the media.
Right. Thank you very much, Erastus. Erastus will come over to you when there's any further development on this matter. Erastus Asare-Donkor is our correspondent in the Ashanti region. In the meantime, talking about condemnation, you would obviously expect a very strong worded one from the MDC. They have just released a press statement. And Joseph, you're here with me. Let's go through what they say. Give us a highlight of what this particular press statement has.
Strongly worded, like you put it. In fact, the headline says President Akufo-Addo and the NPP must take full responsibility for terror attack by the militant lawless Delta Force on Kumasi Circuit Court. They go ahead to make certain demands of the president. They are asking for the resignation of some ministers, and again, they've given the president a 7-day ultimatum. In terms of the very first part where they blame the president, that part of the statement says it is extremely shameful that less than 100 days after being handed over a peaceful Ghana by the outgone NDC administration, the government of President Nana Akufo-Addo has shown unprecedented levels of weakness, gross incompetence, and an inability to maintain the basic tenets of law and order and its attendant twin of the protection of life and property there. So that is the part where they blame the president. They again go ahead to talk about the South Africans who were brought into the country prior to the 2016 elections to train the NPP's security, private security, if I'm to put it that way. And they again make the point that it doesn't come as a surprise to them that these thugs are going ahead attacking people because these are persons who were trained by the then opposition NPP. They again make another interesting point that they are calling for the immediate arrest of Honorable Kennedy Japan. In fact, that part of the statement says, as a matter of urgency and to show a strong commitment to the fight against terror and terrorism, the NDC is calling on the Ghana police to immediately effect the arrest of Honorable Kennedy Japan, who in a full glow of public television made it abundantly clear that he's the master brain behind the lawless acts of the Delta Force, and also went ahead to dare the state to prosecute these militants and bear the brunt of the wrath of himself and the NPP. Such arrogance. They again want some appointees of the president to resign, and those ones they are talking about, they are saying with immediate effect, they want the Interior Minister, the Minister for National Security, the Inspector General of Police, and the National Security Coordinator. They want all these persons to tender in their resignation immediately. They again go on to
they want the IGP to resign. They want the interior minister to resign.
And the National Security Minister and the National Security Coordinator. They want all of these persons to tender in their resignation, and they want it immediately. The last thing are the demands they make of the president, to which they funded him a 7-day ultimatum. They want first a swift action to continue with the trial of those members of the Delta Force who were standing trial for an attack on the Regional Security Coordinator at the Kumasi Regional Administration Offices last week. They also want an immediate arrest and trial of all those involved in the attack on the circuit court, that the president should also take full responsibility for these actions. Okay. And so that is the demands they are making, for which they've decided to give him a 7-day ultimatum. And one will be expected to ask, beyond that, what will they do next? They are saying that they will embark on a series of mass actions via all peaceful and lawful means to pursue our demands further, to ensure that this Black Thursday never occurs in the annals of Ghana's history. So that is coming from the opposition.
The NDC. Long live Ghana, long live Ghana's democracy, long live law-abiding citizens, long live the NDC. It was signed by Johnson Masedu Nketia, General Secretary of the party. We'll try and get in touch with him and, engage him a bit further on all the demands they're making. One will say that resignation of the Interior Minister, the National Security Coordinator, the National Security Minister, etc. are a little bit unrealistic. But of course, when we get him on the line, he will tell us. Thank you very much, Joseph. Joseph Akablay has been in court, bringing us up to speed on what's actually he covers our court issues. So of course he follows the judicial
from the judges.
Exactly. So thank you very much for bringing us up to speed on that. But moving away from that, let's get into Parliament, because the minority is demanding firm action from President Akufo-Addo to deal with the vigilante groups within his party. They say that the attacks have reached alarming levels, and it's about time that political leadership within the NPP cracked the weapon leaders of the groups. Ranking member on Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, James Agalga, has been speaking to Joseph Opoku-Gapo.
So the time has come for us to put politics aside and to deal with the issue of political vigilantism once and for all. We took the initiative. When we were in office just before the 2016 elections, and realizing the dangers that vigilante groups could cause to our country and our fledgling democracy, decided that it was time for us to ban them, to disband them.
That was just talk. They've existed since then, some would argue. You were Deputy Interior Minister at the time. If you had gone ahead to do what was necessary to really disband some of those groups, we wouldn't be seeing them doing what they are doing currently, would we?
I'll explain to you. At that time, what we did was to issue the directive. Now, after issuing the directive, the Inspector General of Police took up the challenge, invited all the political parties, and discussed the matter at length with them. And they all agreed to go back and disband those groups. I can speak for my party, the National Democratic Congress. Have you since heard of any acts of vigilantism on the part of our supporters?
So your point is that what? Azoka Boys, for example, is disbanded. Is that the point you're driving?
Yes. Have you since heard of them? But for the steps we took, I would have had no doubt that there would have been reprisals, especially when other groups affiliated to the New Patriotic Party started locking up offices in Tamale. But we said, no, the time has come for you to dissolve. And they pay heed to wise counsel. But you see, even in the case of the NPP, my view is that the groups went underground after the directive and the steps taken by the Inspector General of Police at the time. They went underground because did you hear of them during the 2016 elections? Nobody heard of them. They only resurfaced after the MPP was declared victorious by the EC at the polls. So somehow they got emboldened that, okay, my party is in government. And so because we're in power, who can touch me? Nobody can touch me. Okay, and then they started misbehaving, acting with impunity. So it is up to the political leadership, the leadership of the New Patriotic Party, to rein them in. And the president, as leader of his political party, must play a critical role here. He must walk the talk, crack the whip.
So, for example, the Inspector General of Police, as you indicated, a process began then to, really get the groups disbanded. You are saying your party has gone ahead to, disband your groups, but the other parties like the MPP still keep theirs. What do you think the IGP should do beyond the processes which were outlined then, which have stalled?
Well, the IGP, of course, must begin to act rather than talk. We are tired of the talking. The president assured us when he delivered himself, when he had to, of course, on the State of the Nation, he assured the country that he had issued firm instructions. Only yesterday, the Minister for National Security was in the House to answer an urgent question. He assured us, but he took a step which for me, of course, requires some form of revisions, because he took the view that, you cannot disband groups that are not legally registered. That is a fact.
Yeah, exactly.
I was at the ministry. We, of course, one of our functions was the registration of private security companies, and we never registered those political vigilante groups, in that capacity.
So his position that then you can disband something which is non-existent.
But to say you cannot disband them, the fact that they are not legally registered does not mean that they can't exist. They do exist. And they have names. Something that is not in existence cannot have names. Invincible force, if it's not in existence, how can it have a name? So remember the clashes Invincible Force had with the Bolgatanga Bulldogs. It took the intervention of the police to restore calm at the MPP headquarters. So how can we pretend that those groups do not exist? They exist. Delta Force exists. They definitely have leadership. Leadership who, in my estimation, are known to the MPP.
So the expectation is that what? The leadership should probably be arrested and thrown into jail?
The leadership of those groups, if they fail to rein in their people. So, for instance, an attack occurred in court in Kumasi, at the instance of the Delta Force. So who are the leaders of the Delta Force? If they can't find the rest of the membership to arrest, let them apprehend the leadership.
James Akaoka there, let the leadership be arrested. That's what he's saying. Well, on the streets, there's a lot of anger. Hear what some Ghanaians have to say about this issue.
Issue of Delta forces and even all the, what do they call it, these security agencies that the political parties engage them during campaign, and subsequently after elections, what transpires is not the best for our democracy. As a growing democracy, I think that it is not proper for such things to happen. And I think that the only thing that needs to be done is for the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to take the bull by the horn and then crack the whip. When the person is wrong, yes, he is wrong. Let the law take its course. Let no political figure sit somewhere and say, okay, these are my boys, let's handle them the way a political party group should be handled. No.
It's not good for them to enter offices and do anything like that, but government is supposed to stand on it. Maybe they want to put another thing on it, maybe to put politics on the system, and which is not good in that way. You see, they are not putting them to that side to do that kind of thing. So by that, government is supposed to stand to know why this thing is going on this way, so that they can tackle the system before it is too much like that. So
seriously, it's not something that we should be happy about. And I think someone should be used as an scapegoat, because if you arrest them and then you don't penalize anyone, I don't think it's the right thing. But if someone is being arrested and being punished, I think it will serve as an example for the others to, back off.
I think this Delta group or this group of vigilantes should be stopped, because each and every party has those vigilante groups. So if the government can stop all these things, I think it will help the country, because we have, I can see the Boko Haram people. That's how it started, like a small group, and it started growing. So if we can stop all these things, I think it will help the country to grow.
We're still on this matter. We'll try and reach the NDC leadership on this case, as well as the Judicial Council on it. The NDC, of course, has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the NPP, and they're calling for the arrest of Kennedy Japan, the resignation of the Minister of Interior, the IGP, the National Security Coordinator, and, of course, the National Security Minister. And, of course, they want those involved in this arrested as well. But